Alright. I'm hoping this short will get some audience. I'm really hoping. I feel like people should appreciate 21 Pilots enough to join the stream. Because I kind of want to explain what lyrics I like and why. I feel like that would just bring in some audience. Because they are my absolute favorite band. I would also like someone to explain to me, though, about Regional at Best, because there's no way those are 21 Pilots songs. I mean, Kitchen Sink is a 21 Pilots song. Isabel Hyde sang it, but they wrote it. So I can understand that. But Regional at Best was made by Eric Bacon, and a lot of the songs on there, I looked at the original artists, and they are not in relation with 21 Pilots. So I don't understand why half the songs they say are in Regional at Best are 21 Pilots songs. They didn't write them, they didn't sing them. It doesn't make sense. And Trees, in the Regional at Best album, is not. It was in Vessel first, and then freaking Eric Bacon took it and sang it. It should not even. It's not Eric's song. And Be Concerned is not a 21 Pilots song. I don't care what anyone says. Ruby isn't a 21 Pilots song. None of those that are classified as 21 Pilots songs are 21 Pilots songs, and it doesn't make sense why people say that they are. Some of these lyrics, though, I like simply because they're poetic. Other ones of their lyrics I like because they have some kind of, like, emotional resonance with me. But I'm gonna start. I think that the ones with the really good lyrics are mostly in their first actual album, self-titled, just called 21 Pilots. I think that most of the good lyrics are in that album, so I'm gonna read that one first. Alright. I'm gonna skip Implicit Demand for Proof, and I'm going to go to Addict with a Pen. I really like these lyrics. I like to read them like they're a poem, but they just say, "Hello. We haven't talked in quite some time. I know I haven't been the best of sons. Hello. I've been traveling in the deserts of my mind, and I haven't found a drop of life. I haven't found a drop of you. I haven't found a drop. I haven't found a drop of water. I try desperately to run through the sand as I hold the water in the palm of my hand, 'cause it's all that I have and it's all that I need, and the waves of the water mean nothing to me. But I try my best and all that I can to hold tightly on to what's left in my hand, but no matter how tightly I will strain, the water will slow me down and the water will drain. I'm just being dramatic. In fact, I'm only at it again, as an addict with a pen who's addicted to the wind. As it blows me back and forth, bindless, spineless, and pretend." I think that's my favorite line. "Of course I'll be here again. See you tomorrow, but it's the end of my way. It's the end of today. It's the end of my ways. As a walking denial, my trial was filed as a crazy suicidal head case. This is a really good line. But you specialize in dying. You hear me screaming, Father, and I'm lying here just crying. So wash me with your water. I really, really like that. I really like Addict with a Pen, and especially those lines, because it just really gives me the picture of somebody who has a thirsty soul. They have a thirsty soul that craves righteousness, they want to but at the same time they want to just hold on to, their own strength. They don't want the strength that comes from the Father because they want to feel the satisfaction of getting it right by themselves. And that's, I feel like, what he's apologizing for here. But at the same time, he doesn't want to stop those ways. And he clearly has an addiction. It's in the title. But I just feel like it just really gives that resemblance. His soul wants mercy and he's crying out for it, but at the same time, doesn't want it. To a lot of you who haven't really struggled with anything, that wouldn't really make sense, but to me it does. And it really is a painful feeling. A very confusing one, too. So that's why I like that song. He's just so real and raw in it. And I've noticed that in some of the videos where he's singing Addict with a Pen, Tyler Joseph is, he actually breaks down crying. And that just really speaks to me a lot. So the next song I want to cover is A Car, a Torch, a Death. I don't know if I really like the tune of this one. I have mixed feelings about it. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. But the lyrics are just, they're so good. They're just really, they're dark, but I like them. The air begins to feel a little thin as I start the car, and then I begin to add the miles piled up behind me. I barely feel a smile deep inside me, and I begin to envy the headlights driving south. I want to crack the door so I can just fall out. But then I remember when you packed my car. You reached in the back and buckled up your heart for me to drive away with. I began to understand why God died. I really, really like that lyric, those lyrics. It's just, he's describing a very deep struggle that a lot of people have but don't talk about. Some people do. But for people like Tyler Joseph, it takes kind of a lot of courage to explain that feeling and a lot of talent to be able to put it into words. But he's able to do that in this song. And that's why I like this so much. And he's talking about, I think, how Jesus came to the earth so that people with these feelings could have the comfort of knowing that one day they can be in a place where there will be no more of that. And that's why Jesus died. I really like that. But I like the chorus also, where it says, and then I felt chills in my bones. The breath I saw was not my own. I knew my skin that wrapped my frame wasn't made to play this game. And then I saw him, torch in hand. He laid it out what he had planned. And then I said, I'll take the grave. Please just send them all my way. It's just so powerful. I can barely describe it. I really like it. And I'm gonna read Isle of Flightless Birds. If possible, I'm only gonna pick 3 from each album. Some of them that's gonna be hard to choose from though. But I'm gonna read Isle of Flightless Birds. At least part of it. Okay. I really like the rapping part, the lyrics of the rapping part, where he says, "All we are is an isle of flightless birds. We find our worth in giving birth and stuff." That part's kind of funny, but we're lining our homes against winding roads, and we think the going is tough. We pick songs to sing, remind us the things that nobody cares about, and honestly, we're probably more suicidal than ever now. If you decide to live by, this is my favorite part, if you decide to live by what you think's wrong and what's right, believe me, you'll begin to wish you were sleeping. Your weeping will creep in your head and you'll cry. But if we wake up every morning and decide what we believe, we can take apart our very heart and the light will set us free. Okay, I really, really like this song. I have ever since I first laid ears on it. But it's because he's describing the way that that if we decide to live by what we feel, what feels right, but is actually wrong, and we don't want to do what's right because it feels wrong, we obey like our desires instead of what our soul knows is right and what's wrong. He's talking about the consequences of that. But then he's talking about the reward for waking up every morning and deciding what we believe, thinking, okay, this is what I'm going to base my life on. This is the faith I want to follow. This is the God I want to follow. These are my goals for the future. Setting your firm foundation and setting your heart and soul on knowing exactly what's right and wrong. Even if what's wrong feels right and what's right feels wrong. Obeying what your soul knows instead of what your heart wants. Does that make sense? I don't feel like I'm not doing a very good job of explaining this. But I don't know. I just really like that song because of that. And I think he did a really good job of explaining it in that song. But I like this part too. How frustrating and so degrading. His time we're wasting. As time will fly by and the sky will cry his light is fading. And he is waiting, oh so patiently, while we repeat the same routine, as we will please comfortability. And please think about why you can't sleep in the evening. And please don't be afraid of what your soul is really thinking. Your soul knows good and evil. Your soul knows both sides. And it's time you pick your battle. And I promise you this is mine. That leads into my last point of knowing what your soul is really thinking. But don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of what your soul is really thinking. Because then you start to constantly wonder, am I doing this wrong? Am I doing that wrong? What's going on with me? Am I a bad person? What does my soul really know? How much does my soul really know? Then you become afraid of yourself. You become afraid of yourself. So don't overthink it. And then, and it says your soul knows good and evil. Your soul knows both sides. And it's time you pick your battle, and I promise you this is mine. So pick your battle, but don't be afraid of it, and don't be afraid of yourself. Do what is required to win that battle. Don't be afraid of it, though. Does that make sense? I didn't really prepare anything I was about to say. I'm just picking out the songs as I'm going along, deciding which ones I want to read. This isn't... Maybe I should have scripted this a little and prepared for it, but maybe it's better if I didn't. I don't know. Oh, Vessel's gonna be good. I like Vessel a lot. Oh, I'm gonna do Ode to Sleep. I kind of like the tune to Ode to Sleep, but it's also kind of all over the place. The lyrics, though, are amazing. Alright, I'm gonna start from the beginning. I wake up fine and dandy, but then by the time I find it handy to rip my heart apart and start planning my crash landing, I go up to the ceiling and I feel my soul start leaving, like an old man's hair receding. I'm pleading please, oh please on my knees, repeatedly asking, why's it got to be this way? Is this living free? I don't want to be the one who has the sun's blood on my hands. I'll tell the moon. Take this weapon forged in darkness. Some see a pen, I see a harpoon. Alright. Why am I not scared in the morning? I don't hear those voices calling. They told me I was gone. They told me I was gone. Wait, I skipped a line. Whatever. He's basically just talking about how, the demons were yelling at him, telling him he was gone. And then he says, but I'll tell him. Why won't you let me go? Do I threaten all your plans? I'm insignificant. Please tell him. You have no plans for me. I'm gonna keep it at that part because I feel like that sets the main point of this song. But I'm gonna read this back real quick. So he's talking about how the demons are holding him because they threaten his plans. They're trying to scare him into not following the plan that God has for his life. So I feel like he's trying to encourage us in this song to know that when the demons are extra hard at work of trying to scare us, that means that our purpose that God gives us is even stronger, because they wouldn't be threatening us unless we were a threat. Does that make sense? Alright. The next song I want to cover in Vessel. Truce. That's so funny. I did the first song first and the last song. Okay. Now the night is coming to an end. The sun will rise, and we will try again. Stay alive for me. You will die, but now your life is free. Take pride in what is sure to die. That one is kind of self-explanatory, but I like it because he's encouraging us to realize that when it reaches the end of the night and the sun starts to rise, yesterday doesn't matter anymore. Whatever happened yesterday that we aren't proud of, whatever happened when the sun was up, doesn't matter anymore because now the sun is down. So the next time the sun comes up, it's a fresh start. One day at a time. And don't let what happened yesterday discourage you into not living another day. Stay alive. That's why I like the song Truce. Alright. I want to do another song from Vessel. Alright, I think I want to go over Screen. That's one of my favorites. Okay. I do not know why I would go in front of you and hide my soul, 'cause you're the only one who knows it. And I will hide behind my pride, don't know why I think I could lie, 'cause there's a screen on my chest. I'm standing in front of you. I'm trying to be so cool. I know who he's talking about here. He's clearly talking about God. God's the only one who knows his soul. But he's trying to hide his soul from God because he feels that it's so dirty. And he doesn't want God to be angry. So he wants to hide his soul from God. But I feel like there's also some fear in this song because he knows that he can't hide his soul from God. Does that make sense? But the truth is that that's why Jesus died, is because our souls are dirty and need saving. And I just think that this song kind of represents that. But now, we're going to read into Blurryface. Get excited. Okay. Nobody typed. What song do I want to cover? Oh, Fairly Local. Again, I have mixed feelings about the tune of this song, but the lyrics are great. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna start it. I'm evil to the core. What I shouldn't do, I will. They say I'm emotional. What I want to save, I will kill. Is that who I truly am? I truly don't have a chance. Tomorrow I'll keep a beat and repeat yesterday's dance. I'm gonna reread that. I'm evil to the core. What I shouldn't do, I will. They say I'm emotional. What I want to save, I'll kill. Is that who I truly am? I truly don't have a chance. Tomorrow I'll keep a beat and repeat yesterday's dance. Do you see the lies he's telling about himself in that verse? He's beating himself up in this song, telling himself that he's truly evil and ruins everything. He repeats the same mistakes every single day. That's the first verse in Fairly Local. And then he eventually learns the truth about himself and says, I'm not evil to the core. What I shouldn't do, I will fight. I know I'm emotional. What I want to save, I will try. I know who I truly am. I truly do have a chance. Tomorrow I'll switch the beat to avoid yesterday's dance. Okay, I feel like that one's really powerful because in the first verse, he's talking about what a bad person he is. All of the lies that he's telling himself about who he is. And there's clearly some depression in that. Because if he was truly the bad person that he's saying he is, he wouldn't be saying it. He wouldn't even care that he is that kind of person if he actually was that kind of person. And I think that midway through the song, he realizes that. And that's where the second verse came from. And he realizes how false those lies really were. And he corrected them. So that song always makes me happy. Okay. The next one I want to cover will be we don't believe what's on TV. I feel like this is a sweet love song, but it isn't gross or sappy. He doesn't make a lot of love songs. I like that about the band. Um, but yeah. I need to know that when I fail, you'll still be here. 'Cause if you stick around, I'll sing you pretty sounds and we'll make money selling your hair. I don't care what's in your hair. I just want to know what's on your mind. I used to say I want to die before I'm old, but because of you, I might think twice. I just think it's so sweet because I feel like this song kind of describes how you can really alter someone's life, whether it's a romantic partner or a friend, just by being there for them and sticking around to the point where they'd even consider living much longer because of you and going throughout their life, no matter how depressed they are, because of you. And it's crazy how much loving someone and sticking around and being there for them can do. That's why I like that song. Okay. The next album we're gonna cover is Trench. There's a lot of good ones in here. Let's do Morph. Morph has a lot of good stuff. Can't stop thinking about if and when I die. For now I see that if and when are truly different cries. For if is purely panic, and when is solemn sorrow. And one invades today, while the other spies tomorrow. We're surrounded and we're hounded. There's no above or under or around it. For above is blind belief, and under is sword to sleeve, and around is scientific miracle. Let's pick above and see. For if and when we go above, the question still remains. Are we still in love, and is it possible we feel the same? And that's when going under starts to take my wonder. But until that time, I'll try to sing this. If I keep moving, they won't know. I'll morph to someone else. And what they throw at me is too slow. I'll morph to someone else. I'm just a ghost. I really like that song. I really like it because he's talking about his confusion on religion. Like, where am I going? What's the afterlife? Which one am I going to? And he's talking about the panic behind wondering that. And I think that's something that I've experienced a lot. And I really appreciate that he's talking about that struggle here. That's why I like those lyrics. And he's doing it in the most poetic way possible. So, I think he did great there. Next, I want to cover Neon Gravestones. I love Neon Gravestones. I love it. They're just spitting straight facts in this song. And it's just so perfect. I don't know. My opinion, our culture can treat a loss like it's a win. And right before we turn on them, we give them the highest of praise and hang their banner from the ceiling, communicating, further engraving, an earlier grave is an option away. No. So, in that part, he's talking about how people they glorify mental illness and they glorify suicide. They make it seem like it's a good thing in a way. Or they mention it to make people think that that's an option for a way out. It is, but it shouldn't be. And it shouldn't be brought up in that context. We should spread awareness for that kind of thing. But when we glorify it and when we make people think it's okay, that causes so many problems that don't even need to be said. And then he goes on to say, "What's my problem? Don't get it twisted. It's with the people we praise who may have assisted. I could use the streams and extra conversations. I could give up and boost up my reputation. I could go out with a bang. They would know my name. They would host and post a celebration. My opinion will not be lenient. My opinion, it's real convenient. Our words are loud, but now I'm talking action. We don't get enough love, well, they don't get a fraction. They say, how could he go if he's got everything? I'll mourn for a kid, but won't cry for a king." Okay. This part is a little bit tricky to pick apart, but I think that they're talking about people have um who have died in the war in neon gravestones. I think they're talking about people who have died in the war. Will mourn for the kids that have, like, offed themselves, which is fine. You should grieve lives, but we don't cry for the people whose lives have been taken in the war. And that's kind of messed up. Those people didn't want to die. They wanted to protect our country, and they wanted to protect it with everything they had, even if it did cost their lives. But these people are intentionally giving their lives away. And I'm not trying to undermine people who are suicidal, because it's a genuine struggle, and I'd hate for someone to feel trapped that way, like there's no way to get out. But he's talking about how we'll mourn for those people, but won't cry for the people who didn't want their lives to be taken away. Does that make sense to you guys? I'd like to hear something come from you guys. I haven't heard anything from the chat yet. But that's what I like about neon gravestones. But then he goes on to say later in the song, "Neon Gravestones" by 21 Pilots. Hello. Nice to see you guys. I'm glad you're here. But then he goes on in Neon Gravestones to say, "Don't get me wrong. The rise in awareness is beating a stigma that no longer scares us. But for sake of discussion and spirit of fairness, could we give this some room for a new point of view? And could it be true that some could be tempted to use this mistake as a form of aggression, a form of a weapon, a form of succession?" I just mixed up a few lines, thinking I'll teach them while I'm refusing the lesson. Yeah. I have a hard time picking that one apart, but I think that what they're talking about here is that people could use the fact that some people have committed suicide as a way to threaten other people and trick them into being better people. And that it just shouldn't be used that way. Then he says, "I'm not disrespecting what was left behind, just pleading that it does not get glorified. Maybe we swap out what it is that we hold so high. Find your grandparents or someone of age. Pay some respects for the path that they paved. To life they were dedicated. Now that should be celebrated." So they're saying that we need to celebrate. Also, we need to celebrate the people of age that have survived through these things. And we should give glory to them. We should be giving more glory to them than we do to the idea of suicide itself. Does that make sense? Suggesting a better perspective to life. Yes. Yes. I feel like this is multiple meanings tied into one, but to me that's the most important meaning. Having a better perspective to life is a big part of this song, and I really appreciate what he's doing there. Okay. I don't know if you guys have heard a lot of 21 Pilots or not. Let me know if you have, because I need to know what I need to explain and what I don't. So, what do I want to read next? I think I'll do Leave the City. Same album, Trench. I'm tired of tending to this fire. I've used up all I've collected. I have singed my hands. It's glowing. Embers barely showing. Proof of life in the shadows. Dancing on my plans. I'll cover that in a second. I want to read what was said here. Too high of expectations and you get hit by reality more often. Yes. I like that a lot. I really like the way you interpreted that. So, I'm tired of tending to this fire. I've used up all I've collected. That's actually pretty hard. I've never given it a whole lot of thought, but I knew this song was very poetic, so I wanted to cover it. But I feel like he's tending to a fire of life in the shadows. He's living in the darkness and feeding into the things that he's living in, that he's describing as a fire. He's living in ways that he doesn't want to live in, but he continues to feed into that and let it consume him. He's used up all he's collected. He has singed his hands. I think with using up all he has collected, I think that what he's saying about that is that there are good things in life that he had, but he kind of used them for the wrong things. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think that's all I'm gonna do for that song. Alright, so for Trench is done. I'm picking at least 3 songs from each album. Scaled and Icy. We'll pick a few songs from Scaled and Icy, and I'll cover them. I want to do Good Day, No Chances, and Redecorate. Song speaks loud about enjoying it while it lasts, life or experience in most terms. I agree with that. I agree with that completely. The high vocals touch the soul. Yes. It's easy for me to dismiss that song because I've heard it since early childhood and I've been hearing it so many times over the years, but I guess sometimes I have to look at the lyrics and really listen to it and understand the significance of it. Even though sometimes I feel like I'm tired of it, if that makes sense. Sometimes it's just nice to be reminded. Let's cover good day. I can feel my saturation leaving me slowly. Broke the news on mom's vacation. Oh, but you know me. Low key. I'm alright. Would you say you depend on the weather? My sunshine is a buzz and a light. I'll be singing out. I know it's hard to believe me. It's a good day. He's talking about all the bad things that are happening to him, talking about how his saturation is leaving him, and that these things that are awful have happened to him, but then it says, I know it's hard to believe me. It's a good day. So he's showing gratitude towards the fact that he's here and living another day, and that the day could be worse than it is. But he's finding joy regardless in that day, and he's expressing it in this song. And I like that. Lost my wife, my job, and child. Homie just sued me. Shoot my life, shoot my life in, shoot 'em up in style. Her favorite movies. I'm alright. Would you say you depend on the weather? You get the idea. He's just talking about having gratitude no matter how bad the day is. Really, there is no such thing as a bad day, even if things that are bad happen during the day. Every day is a good day because it's a day. We have good days and bad days, as we call them. But the important thing is that we're having days. And I think that's the message he's trying to express in that song. So like Joseph Fry's Football 72 said about neon gravestones giving a better perspective on life, I think this song is trying to do the same thing. Let me know if you agree with me. Now we'll do No Chances. Okay. We get bodies every day. We want you home in one piece now. We come for you. No chances. How'd you get the location? Put together pieces? They say they sell the information in those terms of agreement. We spent some weekends on the grind. Surveillance is outside. We see when you arrive. Ride or die, my son. Spent some weekends on the grind. Surveillance is outside. Just repeating the same stuff. I just think that they're discussing the importance of staying alive and keeping the number down for bodies that get buried underground each day. They're they're kind of expressing that importance. It's a hard song to pick apart. We need we need the bad days to cherish the highs after all. Yes. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Thank you. You can say Joseph, it's okay, the username is Goofy. Girl, you're amazing. Thank you. I agree about that we need bad days to cherish the good times and the good days. That's so important because if we had good days all the time, what would it really mean once the next good news comes my way? Does that make sense? And I I don't know if you like believe in any type of religion or anything, but in my personal experience, I if somebody attacks me for my religion saying, "Why do bad things happen if there's a God?" Well, I think that it's because God can take those bad things that have happened and turn them into something that makes us appreciate the good times even more. Because if he stopped every bad thing from happening, we wouldn't have any reason to feel anything. We wouldn't have any reason to feel what we feel like feeling. And that would make us robots. He could make us wake up every day and he could choose to make us happy and love him every day. But instead, we were given the free will, given the choice to feel the way that we want to feel. Whether that's happiness, sadness, anger. A lot of people say anger is a sin, but no, it's what you do with it that determines whether or not it's a sin. But taking away every bad thing that happens would take away that right for us. Does that make sense? And he warns people in the Bible of the consequences of what happens to us and other people that sin. But people do it anyways. And that isn't his fault if we're doing the very things he's telling us not to do. That's where the free will goes in. For multiple. Either way, crying about too long won't solve it. Yes, I agree. Just sitting there and crying about it won't solve it. It's okay to cry about it. Don't suppress your feelings. Let them out. But don't let that be all you do about the situation. You know? Redecorate. I want to cover redecorate. This one is my very favorite song in Scaled and Icy. It's the last song of the album, so that's why I'm covering it last. It's gonna be hard not to just read this whole song. I might end up doing that. Taking inventory of his life. Seeing snapshots chronologically in line. Something told him he should look around and tidy up. He collected many things but never quite enough. Tried looking at it from a new perspective. Flat on his back, but he still heard the directive. Orders from that corner where that shadow always lived. Never ask permission, he just hopes that they forgive. I don't want to go like this. At least let me clean my room. I don't want to leave like this. Because the last thing I want to do is make my people make decisions, wondering what to do. Should they keep it on display? Or redecorate? So one thing I've been trying to figure out for a while is, what is he referring to as his room? It can't be his actual bedroom. It just doesn't make sense for that to be true. But what do you think that he's referring to as his room? What do you think the metaphor is here? I want to see if I can give you guys an opinion on what I think it is, but I want you guys to tell me what your opinion is too. What are your favorite tunes from the famous band? So not including the lyrics, just my favorite tunes. I really like Heavy Dirty Soul, Hometown, Implicit Demand for Proof, Taxi Cab, and we'll go into these bands soon, but I really like a lot of songs in Breach, like City Walls. I like the lyrics of that one too, but just the tune alone is great. And Days Lie Dormant. I like most of their tunes, actually. I'd have to look at each album and tell you what my favorite tunes from them are. What about you? What are your favorites? But I think that maybe he's referring to his soul as his room. But no, that can't be it. Stressed Out isn't on my list. Okay, I'm sorry, but no, it's not. It's not. um, I don't know if that's just because I've heard it so many darn times from early childhood, or because it's just genuinely not one of my favorites. I don't know why. I'm just not the biggest fan of it. Maybe it's because of how much I've heard it, but who knows. I didn't care about this album. Let me see. Same, when it came out, I didn't really care about this album, but after giving it a try, I really love Redecorate, especially when you have been through grief either for someone you love or yourself. Yes! Yes. Absolutely. I, I'm going through a lot of personal experiences right now, and I feel like that song really resonates with how I feel about it. Being between wanting to move on or stay the same would be at the time you love the most, or the person you love the most, not wanting to change anything. That's good. I like that a lot. My Ride and Stressed Out are really hitting the deep spots for me. Yeah, I like the lyrics of them, but I just kind of got tired of the tune over the years. But yeah, I can understand. Scaled and Icy is very easy to overlook. It really is. But you have to look at it on a much deeper level. You know what I mean? And really think about the work that is put into this and the feelings that are put into it, the emotion behind it. That's the most important thing. It's so easy at first glance to think, I don't know if I like this album, or I don't know if I care about it. I kind of felt that way. But looking at it, and the way the tunes contradict the lyrics, I feel like there's a purpose behind that. And Redecorate sounds nothing like the other songs in the album. It's so hard to explain, but I just feel like there's really a strong meaning behind this album for many reasons, even if at first glance you don't really care about it. Okay. Let's do Clancy. I love Clancy. For 2 years, I've just been obsessed with that album. And I want to cover some songs from there. My back hurts. I have like, I don't know why, but I have like the back of a 97-year-old woman. Okay. Alright, which song do I want to cover from here? I think I want to do Oldie Station. Some of the songs in there don't really have like a deep Oh, Oldie Station and Next Semester are the ones that I want to cover. Do you not have a chair or a desk? I do have a desk, but my iPad, the thing that I'm streaming on, is on a very low percentage, and the charger doesn't reach to the desk. So I'll have to wait a little while before I can move to the desk. Okay. I really like Oldie Station. We're gonna cover that one first. Only consistency in your periphery is fear in the bridge of your nose. that's poetic in itself. That first line is actually just so poetic in itself, and I don't. The only thing that's really consistent in your life is what's on your face. And as you move about, you learn to tune them out. They say they continue to grow. So basically, I think repressing your feelings and suppressing your feelings, you're told that they need to grow the surface and get fear of the past and relative pain. Future's coming fast, but you've got nothing in the tank. In a season of lessons learned, of purging things you used to love. Everything must go. Okay, I like that part a lot. The future is, he's talking about how the future's coming on so fast and he finds himself unprepared. And he's having to give up a lot of the things that he loves. And that's causing a lot of fear. Piling up a blanket behind your back may help. I apologize if this is off topic. That's okay. And I think I will try that. That will probably help a little bit. Thank you. Then before you know, you lose some people close, forcing you to manage your pace. Found your capacity for love and tragedy, embracing how things always change. Okay, I cannot describe how much I love this song. But for those of you who don't know, it's called Oldie Station, and of course it's by 21 Pilots, and I really think everybody should hear it. This is basically talking about, finding how much you can take, how much change you can tolerate, when the people that you used to be close to aren't in your life anymore. You've had your turns with relative pains, little less concern when there's nothing in the tank. Have you ever attended a show? No, why? Okay, you've had your turns with relative pain, little less concern when there's nothing in the tank. There's a few things that could mean. You know, obviously you've had experiences with pain, and, but you're a little less concerned when you don't have anything. When you don't have anything you could lose. They're talking about nothing being in the tank. When there's stuff in the tank, you have things in your life that are making you happy. Things that fill your life, that make you a full person, you know? And if you don't have anything, you can't lose anything. So that's why he's saying he's a little less concerned when there's nothing in the tank. Or at least that's why I think he said it. In a season of lessons learned and giving up, you learn what you can and can't take. This is a good line. Add some years, build some trust. You start to feel your eyes adjust. When darkness rolls on you, push on through. I like it how he says that you start to feel your eyes adjust when darkness rolls on you. Because when these circumstances arise in your life, you get used to them over time. And even though you hate the darkness, you're afraid to step out into the light because the darkness is familiar and you've become used to it. You're afraid to step out into the unknown, into the light, because your eyes will hurt. You know? You seem like a big fan. Oh, okay. Yeah, I am a big fan. Okay. I like, the last part of this song, too. You don't quite mind how long red lights are taking. Push on through. You have it down, that old fight for survival. Push on through. Okay, so for the you don't quite mind how long red lights are taking, I think that he's talking about how he's given up caring about the things that happened to him, and he doesn't mind if it goes away or if it stays. Your favorite song was on the oldie station. Push on through. Okay, so I'm young and I've never experienced this before, but I think he's talking about the pain of getting old and realizing that you're getting old in that line. You have it down, that old fight for survival. Push on through. So basically, you're so used to surviving instead of living. You know, you're going throughout your life just fending for yourself and fighting every obstacle that comes your way. And to the point where you know that fight for survival. You know it back and front. You know it by the back of your hand. You know it by heart. And you've learned it, you know? And that isn't something people should have to learn. You're in the crowd at her first dance recital. Push on through. I think that's basically just knowing that your kids are growing up and it being painful. What'd you say here? Adapting is cheat code, but many people cling on to things that are no use simply because it is familiar or maybe less scary. Bingo. I adapt to everything, but I put thought into it at least. I understand that. But yeah, I think that's where a lot of addictions come from, and a lot of bad habits come from, is because people want to cling on to something and adapt to it and become familiar with it. And that way they don't have to feel the darkness. They create more darkness so they don't have to feel the other darkness. That makes sense, right? And they adapt to that because they need something to cling on to. So that way they're not just kind of floating in existence without anything to have a grip on. But yeah, that's why I like that song. Now, I want to look over next semester. But if you have something to say about that song, I'd like to hear it because I think it's very meaningful and poetic. Okay. For someone who is breaking down words and meaning so well, you really need to read philosophy. I have considered philosophy. I do write poetry. If you want to hear a couple of my poems, I can read you a couple of those. They're actually, most of them are in my phone. But yeah, part of what I do is find poems and song lyrics and pick them apart the best I can. That's something I really like to do. Alright, first I want to read next semester, and then I'll read you one of my poems. Stand up straight now. Can't break down. Graduate now. I don't want to be here. It's a taste test of what I hate less. Can you die of anxiousness? I can answer that question. Yes, you can die of anxiousness. It's very hard. Or maybe not as hard as you think. It depends, but yes, you can die of anxiousness. What's about to happen? What's about to happen? But I think that in that first bit, he's describing uncertainty of being in a time where he doesn't know what's happening. Okay, I remember certain things. What I was wearing, the yellow dashes in the street. I prayed those lights would take me home. Then I heard, "Hey kid, get out of the road." I've considered the meaning of this before, and I think that he's on a certain path to where he wants to get in life, but a distraction ran into that path and kicked him out of that path. And he, I think that later on in the song, he expresses regret for not staying in that lane. Nope, no blurry face reference intended. I don't know if you get that or not. Maybe you do. Can't change what you've done. Start fresh next semester. So yeah, I think that's what's happening because he's talking about graduating in the first bit of the song, then he's talking about starting fresh next semester. So I think that he was on a certain path in his life, trying to get to a certain destination, to the next level of his life, but then he let something distract him and kick him out of that road to his destination, and now he's praying that he does better next semester. So that's what I think that song is about. Let me know if you agree with me or if you have any points you'd like to add. I'd like to hear it if you do. But I know you wanted to hear one of my poems, so I can read you one. That was actually what I was streaming originally, but then I decided to make a different stream about 21 Pilots lyrics, hoping it would bring in more people. Okay. So, this one is called The Painful War. It's for people that really just want to give up, and people that really just feel like they're about to spiral out of control and they're done fighting. That's what this is about. There's a painful war holding your life at stake. When you're on the verge of slamming the brakes, colliding with the mountain of your hurt, the broken wreckage as your tears surge. You forgot the song your subconscious heard. It carried a word of the child you once were. No fear, no cares, just like a bird. But now you're here in the sea of your mind, drowning in what makes your eyes blind. And believe me, I know the world has been unkind, but there's a solid sense of healing, a solid feeling, a feeling of grace, an everlasting embrace. Something you can't quite yet see, but one day you're to find. So don't let go just yet. Don't leave yourself in your head, but carry out through the dark drought and let your tears be shed. Replace the heavy sack that is weighing on your soul with a cross against your back that swallows you whole. You will survive. So that's one of my poems. I have almost 300 other ones, but from my point of view, he is maybe trying to get the best out of what's left of him. I like that point of view. And I think that there's definitely some truth in that. Yeah, I think that's what a lot of his songs are about. He's just trying to understand the good that's left and cling on to it. I don't believe Shakespeare is dead. Thank you. Now, I want to do Breach. There are just a couple lines in here that I want to read. Like, okay. I wonder where you are. Oh, by the way, this is City Walls. I forgot to tell you the name of it. I wonder where you are. I wanted you to show me the way around those city walls, the way on through. I wonder where you are. I wanted you to show me. But now the night has fallen, abandoned by the sun. He's wondering where the light in his life, whether that's religion or a person or anything else, he's wondering where it went and why it isn't coming back for him. And he feels like it abandoned him, and now he's just left in the darkness to survive on his own. And other parts of this song make me think that he's fighting dark parts of himself. And this is one of my favorite lines. I write a promise in pencil, but my loyalty's in pen. Use a mistake as a crooked stencil, then we trace it back again. So, he writes promises and he makes promises that he doesn't mean. And then he uses a mistake as a reason to go back, to go back to the beginning of what he was trying to accomplish and try again, instead of just pushing forward and moving on and still continuing, He goes all the way back and starts over again. But that's all I wanted to cover with City Walls. And then, oh, my back. I'm too young for this back trouble. The light in someone's life is distracted by one most grave needs or lacks in life. Yes. Sorry, I'm gonna pop my back. I'm too young for all these back troubles, bro. I'm too young for this. My brother teases me about being old, but I'm not old. I don't have a single wrinkle on my face. I'm not old. Dictated. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, though. Okay. Oh my gosh, I can't pick which song I want to do next. There are so many good ones in Breach. I think I'm gonna do the last one, Intentions, and then pick after that which song I want to do next. One song I want to do eventually in this live stream is Drag Path. You are not old. Wise, maybe. Thank you. I guess I do kind of have a beard of wisdom. I'm sorry. I'll show myself out. I am starting it all over again. Did I learn a thing? Intentions are everything. Intentions will set you free. You will fail most every day. In every way. Did you learn a thing? Intentions lack memory. Intentions will set you free. Just try to be. This song is only 2 minutes long, and doesn't have very many lyrics. That was basically all the lyrics that are in that song. But I feel like it carries a lot of meaning. I feel like he's tried doing the right things with the wrong intentions. way too many times. And now he suddenly found his intentions and what the right ones are. And I just think that he's really finally learning the value of intentions. And they will determine what your life is going to be like. They'll determine your successes and your failures. Your intentions will. Quality over quantity. Yes, in some ways I agree with quality over quantity, and in other ways I don't. For this particular song, yes, I agree with that. For me, writing poems, in some ways I disagree with that. I used to think it was quality over quantity, but my brother-in-law provided a fresh perspective and said that if I have several poems that are kind of plain, it's better than having one really good one, because I can go back and look at all of those poems and find ways to improve them over the weeks, and then I have a bunch of good ones instead of just having agonized into one. Does that make sense? Okay. Now I want to read Downstairs. But yeah, I completely used to be way too big on quality over quantity, which to a degree is true. But if you have a large quantity of things that you can go back and improve, you can do that for all of those things. And then you'll have quality and quantity. See? You can have all I've made and all I've ever known. You can have both my lungs if you ask me so. 'Cause I want to be the one, after your own heart. And I might doubt the process like I doubted the start. So I'm begging mercy. Downstairs, I feel better in the cellar. Down there, it's some shelter from the weather. I wear all of my heart on my sleeve. I take what I believe, and I'm hiding it. What I meant is saying less with true meaning is way better than explaining a whole lot. I agree with that. That's one of the areas where I do agree with quality over quantity. Yeah, I do think it's better to make a song with more yeah, just something that'll speak to people. That's to me what the most important part about music is, and why I like it so much is because I look for things that will speak to me and that maybe I can share with someone else. But for what was said here about taking what he believes and hiding it, it's that's pretty self-explanatory. You know, he's ashamed to show who he is and what he believes in. And hidden meanings that are relatable. Mm-hmm. See, that's another thing I like about music and poetry, but especially music, is I like it when they kind of make it mysterious or they don't make the meaning very clear. Then all of the audience can interpret it into their own meaning. Alright. So, I'm trying to find another poem that I want to read because I want to read a couple of my poems on here. That's originally what I wanted to stream about, but then I decided to do 21 Pilots instead. But now I feel like I can do them both in one stream. But which one do I want to read? So this one is kind of a sassy poem that I wrote specifically directed towards someone who wronged me. But it says, "Maybe you hurt me worse than I thought, but you could never fight in the wars that I have fought. Maybe you dehumanize me in ways where it's hard to feel human again, but you could never be more human than me, friend. Maybe you left me criticizing myself and self-worth, but nothing could be more critical than the shame you deserve. So I hope you're proud of yourself." Okay. That was just kind of meant to be a little bit of sass. I don't know. Okay, I like this one that I wrote. It's called A Shadow of Light. A shadow of light deflects off my window in the darkest of nights. But the other shadow in my room will fight for my doom. A shadow of light is now far out of sight. I told it, I have other plans. The words on the pages are just grains of sand. Sand that will fade as the sun sinks in the ground. As the moon's light gives way, and the circle of time is sound. Sound of worry, gnashing, gnawing, and clawing, as through my subconscious the darkness is sawing. So now midnight tears me in two. My soul has dried out from you. So please, I beg you to conquer this prison and break the chains. You who have risen in shine or rain. Will you please show your light on my window once again? I want to make you a friend. I will finally let you in. Take away my sin. Although I am a male, Billie Eilish comforts me after a long day or phase in life. I'm being serious and I'm not shy about it, since someone might judge me for being unmanly, but whatever. Okay, I understand. I really do. I don't listen to a whole lot of her songs, but I completely get it. And it's just, it's so, some music really just, it can speak to you. It doesn't matter what your gender is. Hey, I mostly listen to male singers, and I'm a female. If I can listen to male singers as a female, why can't you listen to female singers as a male? Also, your poems have a million words focused into very few. Maybe you need to write some lovely or prideful. Maybe. Okay. Sorry, my neck is itchy. Yeah, after I read you another poem, I really want to read through Drag Path, 21 Pilots song. It came out like 2 months ago, I think, and I love it so much. It has a significant meaning to me, and I want to read through it. But I want to find another poem to read you first. This one is called The Unfair Reality of Guilt. You stood at the kitchen sink today. You questioned you, but you answered with another question. Why do I feel the guilt and pain that shouldn't be mine to feel? You asked. Why do I stare at myself in hopes that I'm not even real? I don't know. Why don't they feel it instead? It's so damn easy to feel wronged when you're the one that bled. You bleed the blood of your enemy, which you carry in your body. You used to hurt without remedy. Why do you carry this so broadly? Shouldn't they suffer the questions where they wonder what's become of them? Why should I feel this restless when I fought to survive? This weight shouldn't be mine to carry, but theirs. When will my heart be revived? I feel like that poem, the meaning of it is self-explanatory. Just basically me writing that for people who have experienced guilt that shouldn't be theirs to feel. The person that hurt them should feel the guilt. And sometimes that doesn't feel very fair. So, yeah. By the way, I do take constructive criticism. So, if you have any thoughts on how I could improve my poems, you should let me know. Okay, now I do want to cover Drag Path. This will be very brief to cover because it isn't very lyrical, but it's very powerful. When I see the devil's eyes, I look away and smile wide. You found me. Then I'll know you're also there. 'Cause proof is in the adversary. You found me. A drag path etched in the surface. As evidence I left there on purpose. A sad sap laying on the surface. Can you find me? I'm gonna skip a few lines because they just repeat the same stuff, but I want to go over this one real quick because I feel like it kind of has a biblical reference. I dug my heels into the gravel as evidence for you to unravel. A drag path etched in the surface. Can you find me? So the I dug my heels into the gravel as evidence for you to unravel. I feel like that kind of is a reference to the Bible verse that says, "Be still and know that I am God." I think he's kind of giving himself a minute to just dig his heels into the gravel and be still. So he's not constantly moving in God's way of what he's trying to do with his life. So he can finally unravel. I'm not an expert to it, but I do like real poems with real purpose rather than sobbing ones. I agree with that. It's okay to like express sadness in a poem because that's what poetry is about, expressing feelings in a healthy way. But I feel like you should tell people about the ones that that kind of hold a real significance to them. But yours are enjoyable regardless. Thank you. But when it says, when I see the devil's eyes, I'll look away and smile wide. You found me. Then I know you're also there. 'Cause proof is in the adversary. So the opposite of the devil is God, or anything really good that he cares about. So if he sees the extreme end of evil, that means the extreme end of good is also there. Because why would evil care about being in your presence to scare you, to torment you, if the evil even didn't know that there's good around you? You know what I mean? It's hard to explain. So yeah, when he sees evil, he knows that there's also good around. So that's why he's smiling wide. Because proof is in the adversary. This poem is called Unfamiliarity. You feel unfamiliar with the new planet in your system. You feel like you're floating in an endless circle. You don't understand what brought you to this land, so you sink in the water and drown in the sand. Your lungs captivate what little you withstand, but the oxygen around your soul is still endangered. You don't know what's left of your reputation in your hand, which controls your life, which is now a stranger. Get to know the pieces you've buried into the sea, the ones buried underneath the bottom of your soul. Maybe take back the promise the evil one stole, and learn the planet built from pain. Let me see. What do you think of evil deeds from the surface for being a greater good on the bottom? That's actually a really that's a hard question to answer. It kind of depends on the circumstance. Maybe like describe an instance to me. What like like an example or something. Because it's hard to give a clear answer. Because I feel like sometimes that's a good thing and sometimes it's not. It depends on the circumstance. This I think is one of my favorites of poems I've ever written. It's about self-forgiveness. Let me see. Okay. A scar on the face. Oh, where is it safe? You sat on the wall, craving a death-seeking fall. Then you sought a worthy redemption, wishing to relieve a hurt and tension. But you seek it by healing with broken things, leaving you bleeding with agonizing stings. Regret seeps into your soul. Your tears full of fire, your life they roll. Your shadow creeps in, you have yourself to console. You wish you could erase your breaking skull. As you pray to God for his grace and to cleanse, your death awaits you, you live to end. You attempt to strangle your everlasting shame. You beg to God for the one you hurt to be saved from the pain. To wash their hands from your own dirt, you pray that they're sane. The self-hatred your actions grew is watching you turn into something you rue. The shadow of the past comes out of your eyes. You despise your never-ending disguise. The scars on your skin could never compare to the vision they tear. They make you blind to the future you waste, causing you to crave a numbing taste. Something, a crack splits between the clouds, releasing a relieving sensation and sound. You see the light, the rain starts to fade. You see the future come out of the shade. And then suddenly the shadows start to die. You're born out of your skin into a home in the sky. Self-forgiveness. You'll feel alive. You'll now have the urge to thrive. Forgive yourself. I promise you're worth it. You are seen beyond what you wish you saw. The sun will stay in front of the clouds, but you have to hold on to the truth, the never-changing proof. The proof of a real potential for change. The promise you've been given, the chance to be redeemed. Forgive yourself. Sew the seams. Your heart is cracked and your soul cries out, but you are no longer defined by your old schemes. Forgive yourself. Let me read the instance you sent me real quick. A father depriving a daughter from the freedom of enjoying childhood for the purpose of making her aware of her boundaries or needs. I feel like, the whole point of being a child is to be a child, you know? But you should be taught how to learn your boundaries or needs. There are other ways to do it, if that makes sense. She should learn from childhood that she can't be a child all the time, but she shouldn't have to experience the pain of never knowing what it feels like to be a child while it lasts. Maturing early comes from trauma or bad treatment, yeah. Natural intention from a parent making their child, yeah, I agree. I heard a quote that says that a child that knows too much was never protected. You'll be right back? Okay. Alright. Let's see. Who's the other person that's on here? I want to know who the other person on here is. If you don't mind saying something in the chat. Because I want to actually engage with my audience and get to know them. Ow. Alright, let's see. What do I want to read next? Okay, I am way too young to be experiencing this back pain. Alright, the next one I want to read is Beauty Isn't Always Pain. Obviously, these aren't 21 Pilots songs anymore. Now these are my poems. Now it's all about me. Just kidding. Beauty isn't always... Okay, sorry. It's called Beauty Isn't Always Pain. Beauty is pain. She says that she's stale... I can't talk. Beauty is pain, she says as she stares at her pale face, her weakened eyes, as her favorite dish sits cold on the table. I'll eat later, her trembling voice cries out as her mother looks to her with concern. Beauty is pain, she says to herself as she replaces the eyeliner on her eyes that left because her feeling of self-worth did the same. As she was told that she had to follow an expectation that should never be a reality. Just one more surgery. Her ruined lips lie, as they secretly wish they had stayed the way they were worn as. Her father sits there with a blank look on his face. He hopes his daughter sees the light that her mother never had, but he knows only she can do that for herself. Maybe beauty isn't always pain. Maybe beauty is allowing yourself to wear a hoodie in a messy bun. Maybe it's taking pleasure in forgetting the makeup for a day, or eating too much ice cream. Maybe beauty isn't pain, but loving yourself through it. Loving yourself through what life throws at your heart, shielding it from all lies. Maybe beauty is in the small moments, like laughing without being insecure about your smile, or talking about what you love without being annoyed at yourself for talking too much. All of this is easier said than done, but can still be done. So that's another poem I wrote. Also, I hope that the 21 Pilots lyrics were enjoyable to listen to, because I enjoyed reading them. I'll have to make a part 2 of this live stream as well later on, like maybe next week or something, and read more 21 Pilots lyrics. What was that? I just saw something flash. There's not even any light over there. What flashed? Wow. Okay. So, I want to get to know you guys. Tell me a few things about yourself that you're comfortable with sharing. If you're in school, tell me your grade, tell me your name, your favorite color. Just tell me a few things about yourself because I want to get to know my audience. Because my name's Claire, I'm in 11th grade, and my favorite colors are lavender and green. So why don't you guys tell me the same stuff if you're comfortable with it. I need to crack this window. It's getting kind of stuffy in here. Okay. I also kind of needed a chance to stretch out my back. I'm having some back pain. Which, again, I am way too young for. I should not be having back pain. But yeah, my favorite songs, I'm gonna tell you what my favorite songs from every 21 Pilots album are. I'm gonna give you 3 favorite songs from each album that I totally recommend you listen to. Alright. Implicit Demand for Proof, Taxi Cab, and Isle of Flightless Birds. Oh, but then there's also Oh Misbeliever. Those are my favorites from Self-Titled. My name is Angel. I'm from Mexico. I've known 21 Pilots since I was 15 years old. I discovered them mainly through their first album. My favorite song by them is Trapdoor. Aw, that's awesome. And I really, really like their first album too. It is so good and so meaningful. And I love it so much. Their first album is just great. But yeah, I like Isle of Flightless Birds. Oh Misbeliever, Addict with a... There's just so many songs. I can't decide what my 3 favorites are. But as for Vessel, I like Guns for Hands, Screen, and Migraine. Those are my 3 favorites from there. But I also really like Ode to Sleep. But yeah, so I can't really decide whether I like the old era of their music or the new era better. I just feel like they're both so different, but that's part of why I like their music, is because it's all over the place and doesn't really have like a specific genre, you know? And then for Blurry Face, my favorites are Heavy Dirty Soul, Lane Boy, and Hometown. Trench, wait, yeah, Trench is next. I like Levitate, Nico and the Niners, and Bandito. Sometimes my favorites change. Shadow puts its head at me. For Scaled and Icy, I like The Outside, Redecorate, and Good Day. For Clancy, my favorites are Navigating, Oldie Station, and Paladin Strait. Those are my 3 favorites from there. For Breach, it would be City Walls, Downstairs, and Cottonwood. Or The Contract. But those are my favorites from each album. What are your favorites from each album? I'm not asking that towards really any specific person, just any one of either one of you, really. Religious experience. Have you ever had a religious experience with their first album that made you understand or relate to? Yes. At that age, religion and God were things I had taken for granted since childhood. When I listened to Doubt, I was really grateful that I came across this band. Maybe I'm not as close to my Christianity anymore, but I think that album helped me feel understood. I agree with you so much. That's where I get most of my, that's the album where I get the most, I feel the most relation to, is their first album. Addict with a Pen really speaks to me. I mean, it really speaks to me. The first time I heard it, and sometimes even still, I almost burst into tears every time I hear it. It speaks to me in an indescribable way. And I also, Isle of Flightless Birds just puts me to peace, and so does Taxi Cab. I don't know, it's just so... They just really know how to speak to you, you know? They just really know how to speak to you. And I love how they speak to both religious and secular audiences. And, it's amazing to me, the way that they can just speak through me with those lyrics. And I really like Implicit Demand for Proof, like you said. The instruments, too, in that one are just so peaceful. They're amazing, you know? The Pantaloon, I have mixed feelings on. I like the tune, but it doesn't go well with the lyrics. Just in my opinion. But I feel like they address so many, like, feelings and problems in the self-titled album. So, yeah. In Vessel, too. They are unbelievably poetic in Vessel. The song Trees also really speaks to me. The Pantaloon makes me feel weird, like starting to have the fear when I get old. Yeah, I kind of get that. I can understand why you would fear that. I really like House of Gold, too. And for you, are you more attracted to the lore or just the handwriting? Honestly, both. I watched a 2-hour video with one of my friends about the lore, and I was so intrigued. But the writing is just unbelievable on a whole other level. So I have to say that both of them, you know? It's just, as a writer, I can't help but be mostly intrigued by the writing. But the lore definitely piques an interest, and I really like to learn about their backstory. I like to search stuff up about them, and it's amazing. The band as a whole is amazing. What's your opinion on their most recent album? The more that I think about it, I think I like their old era of music better. Like, you know, with the they're self-titled, and Vessel and Trench. I just feel like their old music sometimes speaks to me better. Ranking my albums from favorite to least favorite. Oh, speaking of which, I made this thing where I rated every song in every album not too long ago, and I want to read you some of those. Some of them I've changed my opinion on. Some of them were like an acquired taste, sort of, that I had to get used to. Like A Car, a Torch, a Death. I had to get used to that one. The lyrics to that are just absolutely amazing, and I had to get used to the tune, though. Let me find that for you, though. So, my rating of the 21 Pilots self-titled album. Implicit Demand for Proof is an 8 out of 10. Sensation of Enclosure. The more I listen to the album, the more I feel like it speaks to both my younger self and my current self. I don't know if you feel me, but I really like. Me too. And that's actually what they did. In Breach, was that song was both talking about younger Tyler and current Tyler. So I think that that's kind of what they were aiming for. Implicit Demand for Proof is an 8 out of 10. Fall Away is a 9.5 out of 10. The Pantaloon is a 6 out of 10. Addict with a Pen, 8.5 out of 10. Friend Please is a 10. That one's flawless. I love it. March to the Sea is a 7 out of 10. The references to Holding On to You and Migraine. Yes. I don't know why, but when he said entertain my faith in City Walls, the same way he did in Holding On to You, it just like it sent chills down my spine. And the Islands of Violence, I really liked it. And I really liked in Trench. Bandito was one of my favorite songs from Trench, where they said, I created this world to feel some control. Destroy it if I want. So I sing Solo Fallina. I don't know if you know this, maybe you do, but it took me a moment to figure it out. That Solo Fallina is their way of crying for help to other banditos that are in the trenches, that are crying for help and struggling in the same way as him. And then, in Clancy, at the very beginning of the song, they say, welcome back to Trench, and say the same thing. I created this world to feel some control. Destroy it if I want. So I sing, Solo Fallina. And I really like how, also in Trench, I love how Trench and Clancy kind of intertwine. He's talking about how he'll morph to someone else. If I keep moving, they won't know. I'll morph to someone else. What they throw at me is too slow. I'll morph to someone else. I'm just a ghost. I'll morph to someone else. A defense mechanism mode. Then, like I said, in Overcompensate, he's talking about how, welcome back to Trench. And then he talks about how, he says, where am I from? I was born right here, just now. Originated right in front of your eyes. If you can't see, I am Clancy, prodigal son. See, he morphed into Clancy. That's another reference to Trench that is in this song. In Trench, he's himself, and he's talking about how he's gonna morph to someone else. And I think that Clancy is, the whole album is literally based off of what he morphed into. And that's just so cool to me. I don't know. So yeah, both the lore and the writing amaze me. And I like Car Radio too, and how much emotion they show in that one. And it's just, I just like how they're so real and raw about what they feel. And I like in Breach how I like the song Drum Show, because, you know, Josh is the drummer, and he's a big part of the band, an important part of it, but he doesn't get to talk about really his feelings in the band. And I like that song because the song is literally about Josh, and he finally gets to have, like, a voice and how he feels. Have you ever heard that A Car, a Torch, a Death basically sums up the whole story of Clancy? Yeah, I don't think I've heard of that before. But oh, I'm starting to see it now. Hold on, let me go back to that song. I see it now. Looking back at the lyrics of A Car, a Torch, a Death, and then looking at Clancy, I can definitely see how, yeah. I see it. The air begins to feel a little thin as I start the car, and then I begin to add the miles piled up behind me. I barely feel a smile deep inside me, and I begin to envy the headlights driving south. I want to crack the door so I can just fall out. But then I remember when you packed my car. You reached in the back and buckled up your heart for me to drive away with. I began to understand why God died. Yes, exactly. That's what I was going to mention next, is Heavy Dirty Soul. In the Heavy Dirty Soul music video, he's driving a car, and parts of the car keep burning off and flying away. And he's talking about that same car in this song. And so I can see how A Car, a Torch, a Death, and Heavy Dirty Soul reference each other, you know? And that's just really cool to me. The one who drives the car. Yeah. I've watched most of their music videos, and honestly, the music video for the song Chlorine is by far the worst one. They're just pouring chlorine into a pool while awkwardly looking at each other. I don't know if you've seen it. Maybe you have, but I think you should go watch it. Then I felt chills in my bones. The breath I saw was not my own. And then I saw him, torch in hand, laid it out what he had planned. I really loved it when it came out, but really I do understand. Yeah, see, I think the song is good, but the music video sucks. That's just my personal opinion. I really like the City Walls music video. It's awesome. The Next Semester music video, though, makes me feel uncomfortable. It's just a crowd, and it kind of gives, like, sweaty vibes, and it makes me feel claustrophobic in a way, and I'm not even claustrophobic, but... But Josh shot, though. Yeah. Honestly, I've noticed that Josh is, like, always shirtless. He's always shirtless. I'm not complaining, but but like I wonder why he's always shirtless. Why? Oh, probably to, attract the audience. But yeah, I'm not complaining. Okay. like I said earlier, for Scaled and Icy, it's so easy to think, I don't care for this album very much. But when you really look into the work and feeling that was like put into, oh my gosh, that machinery is so loud. The work that and the feeling that was really put into the album, um, I I completely just it's amazing. I appreciate it, even if Scaled and Icy isn't really my favorite album. But anyways, as I was saying, for the ratings of the music, I have to go, but I hope you make more streams. I will. It was nice seeing you. As for Johnny Boy, I'd rate that like a 9 out of 10. There's a very important message in the song, but some of the sounds of the voice and the voice filters just kind of sucked. Oh Misbeliever is another 10 out of 10. Aircatcher is an 8 out of 10. I liked it, but the auto-tune towards the end of the song was just kind of unnecessary. I don't like when they add auto-tune. Okay, so this was like my old rating of A Car, A Torch, A Death. It's like it's an acquired taste. I rated it a 5 out of 10. Now I rate it more like a 7 out of 10. Taxi Cab is a 9 out of 10. Before You Start Your Day is a 10 out of 10. So Peaceful. An Isle of Flightless Birds is another 10 out of 10. But yeah, I'm gonna hop off now. I've been streaming for a while. But I'll probably stream again next week. And, so yeah. Well, no, first, before I go, I want to read, my rating of Vessel. No, I'm just gonna finish reading the album ratings. I might as well, and then I'll go. So, then, for Vessel, where is Vessel? Where's my Vessel rating? I can't find it. Here it is. Ode to Sleep being a 5 out of 10. I kind of changed my mind about that. Now I think it's more like an 8 out of 10. Holding On to You is a 6 out of 10. I also changed my mind about that. Now it's one of my favorites in the album. Migraine is an 8 out of 10. I love Migraine. House of Gold is a 10 out of 10. Car Radio is a 10 out of 10. Semi-Automatic is a 4 out of 10. I mean, parts of Semi-Automatic are good, but for the most part, no thank you. The Run and Go, I put 3 out of 10. I'm not really sure why I put 3 out of 10. It is so good. Fake You Out, 8 out of 10. My opinion remains the same on that. Guns for Hands, 5 out of 10. No, I changed my mind. That's one of my favorites in the album now, is Guns for Hands. I should not have given that such a low rating. I'm sorry, Tyler. Trees, 9 out of 10. I have the same rating for that as I did before. I just feel like it could be more lyrical and have less nah, 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 nah. Truce is a 10 out of 10. Sorry, like, my back is all twisted up. Okay. Okay, Heavy Nerdy Soul is a 10 out of 10. Stressed Out, I'm not sure why I put like 9 out of 10. Probably for the lyrics. I don't care for the tune as much, but Ride is a 7 out of 10. Like, the rapping is great, but the singing is mid. And Fairly Local is an 8 out of 10. Tear in My Heart is a 10 out of 10. Lane Boy is another 10 out of 10. The Judge is an 8 out of 10. Doubt is a 6 out of 10. Polarize is a 6 out of 10. We Don't Believe What's on TV is a 10 out of 10. Message Man is a 7 out of 10. Hometown, 8 out of 10. Not Today, I put 3 out of 10. I'm gonna move it up to a 5 or 6. Goner was a 9 out of 10. I liked it. But I think that's all I'm gonna read for now. I'm gonna hop off now. But I'll stream again soon.